Please put your hands together for Jamie Winch of HMLR.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I wasn't joking when I said it'd be great to follow Catherine everywhere as well, because her explaining that framework, actually we can see that's what we are following. It's also good to see the lady that's got innovation in her job title. So at least 4 people have innovation in their job title in the room. So now the killer question: how many of you in the room are a customer of Land Registry? Put your hand up. Wow, this is going to be fun, isn't it? So delighted to be here with Rob and the team today as well, and probably following on from the theme of Catherine as well, we're talking about pilots, we're going to be talking about digitisation. I won't be talking about AI as well, but I might reference it halfway through the presentation. But just to get started, I have innovation in my job title. So I'm Jamie Winch. I've been with Land Registry 35 years. So I remember blue card registers, charge certificates, land certificates, but now I've got innovation in my job title. So I'm going to talk to you today about Land Registry's ambitions moving forward. But first of all, that is not the feedback from this morning's seminar, but I will try and provide some context later on in the presentation as to why I've put that very bold statement at the front of the presentation. I'm not going to err away from the killer question in the room, which is, Jamie, where's my first registration? So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about digitisation, we're going to talk about Land Registry's ambitions for the future, we're going to talk about pilots as well, but what I'll start with is an update on where we are on backlogs. Okay, so if you go back 10 years, you had a customer team, you could pick up the phone, where is my first registration, Jamie? We would pick the phone up and say, you've put that restriction in incorrectly again as well. But we've lost that ability, haven't we? Yeah. So this isn't a boast, but average turnaround times are now below 12 months for all applications. Okay, that is nowhere near where we need to be, but it's a step in the right direction. So that was our first target. Get the average time for all completions down to below 12 months. We're updating those service standards all the time as well. It is fair to say that information services, so any pre-completion searches and requests for information, we turn around in a day or less as well. And we have obviously got the expedite service. If you have an application which is really urgent or has a dependent application behind it, that's what the expedite service is there for, and we will complete that within 10 working days. One of the issues we have at the moment is we are recruiting, and I'll touch on that in a second, and we've got overtime on. During overtime, most of our caseworkers are processing expedites because it got really, really critical as well. So the commitment from the very top of Land Registry is everything I will talk about today is a priority, but our number one priority will always remain getting those service standards down to the times that you expect as well. So you don't have to pick the phone, so you don't have to complain, so you don't have to go, Land Registry are holding this up. We need to work with lenders. We know you're under pressure from the lenders to say, we've submitted the application now, it's with the Land Registry. You can chase an application by going onto the portal and filling in the contact us box as well. We treat that as formal correspondence. So if you are struggling to contact Land Registry about an application, go onto the portal, type in the title number and the ABR, and that free format box we treat as formal correspondence as well. What I'm going to touch on now is our priorities for the coming year, so 25-26. Quick question for the room. How many housing ministers have there been in the last 10 years? Anyone know? 16. Okay, so it's been unstable with regards to policy and leadership in housing as well. Land Registry in August 2023 moved under the arm of MHCLG. So we all love an acronym, don't we? So we used to call it DCLG, but definitely a better strategic fit for Land Registry because it's responsible for home buying and selling. So for Land Registry, it's a better fit. Okay, However, it adds more pressure and more scrutiny because the ministerial department now is saying, Land Registry, can you do this? Land Registry, improve this. So I'm going to touch for a few moments on our priorities for the coming year. So you'll see a theme here, digitisation as well. Part of the issue we have with operational backlogs is our systems need re-engineering. So where's Catherine? We need the change framework for re-engineering all of our casework systems. They're about 25 years old as well. So we need to digitise and modernise all our systems and services. So if you see Portal, you're used to it as well. It needs refreshing as well. So all of our services, all of our systems can actually cope with digital data. Okay, and it will be the theme going all the way through. Also, I think partnership as well, engaging as well. We have made a commitment to actually work more widely with the market as well. So you'll see home buying and selling, okay, more momentum towards digitisation and improving that overriding home buying process. And you can see I've got another acronym already, DPMSG. Hands up, who knows what DPMSG means? Just my partner, just my colleague Callum. So I'll touch on the Digital Property Market Steering Group a bit later on as well. And then here we go. Mr. Pennycutt would like us to start thinking about opening up other data sets as well. So for those that can remember blue card registers, charge certificates as well, Land Registry started the process of digitising its data back in 1992. It was called CAPS 92. And we moved blue card registers onto electronic registers. And we've still got paper title plans, etc. So the Land Register, although you can interact with it very quickly, you can get your office copy, is still a textual register with a spatial element associated, and more on that later. So again, if you look at reducing barriers for access to data, digitising, improving accessibility as well, it's all about open data. You might also have seen recently announcements made by DSIT, so the Department for Science, Innovation Technology, okay, around a national data library. There's always a balance to be held around what data you can push out for free to stimulate economic growth and what data you have to keep secure. So if we were asked which data set should Land Registry publish the most, the whole market will say publish the B register. Okay, we're not going to publish the B register because obviously GDPR as well is a very valuable and we need to keep it secure. So I heard talks earlier about, cybersecurity and threats as well. We are protecting a national asset which underpins about £8 trillion worth of property value and about £3 trillion worth of mortgage debt. So our core business will always be to maintain a safe, secure, efficient land registration system that supports the home buying and selling process. There's a few. Don't worry, there's not 14 different priorities I'm going to go through as well. But this one is very interesting. This kicks off imminently as well. We call it contractual controls. So in line with government's ambition to build 1.5 million homes, there's lots of work, in lots of departments to be able to fulfill those ambitions. Land Registry will be key in that because we are aware that there are developers out there, there are organisations that have banked lots of land, on option agreements as well. That information is really hard to get out of the Land Register or anywhere. So the Minister's challenged us to say we need to create more transparency about contractual controls so we know where the land that's got permission on, where the land that's being held under option is, so we can use that, open up that data and get land being built upon as well. So a massive piece of work that's just kicking off now on that. Another really popular decision that we made last year when we put our fees up for information services. Hands up if you were delighted at the increase in the cost for office copy. I didn't think I'd get many hands. But I want to provide some context as to why we've done that as well. So in December last year, the Minister did give us approval for an uplift in information service fees from £3 to £7. The only defence I've got is they're back up to 1998 levels as well. But I think more importantly, there's a commitment in there. It's a short-term uplift in fees, but a commitment for a wholesale review of our charging guidance as well. So we've commenced that work internally. We have a strategy group that's looking at how we might change our fees order. We do need legislation to change it as well. and we will have to do consultation. So again, going back to Catherine's point, we will consult on potential changes to our fees order, and that will probably be early next calendar year. Where that goes, I don't know. There is probably definitely a desire for more data available. You might hear things like, you should pay one fee for all information about a piece of land and property held by Land Registry as well. So again, we will come out, we will speak to you, okay, and we will consult, and there will be a change in Land Registry's fee structure going forward. I'm going to talk for a few moments now about a digitisation programme. So myself and my colleague Callum, we both work on local land charges. So local land charges is Land Registry's first new register that we've built in over 90 years as well. Like anything, and I'll go back to the change framework again. We first started looking at local land charges in 2013. So we did a pilot, we did a prototype, and we've taken local authorities and search companies and some customers on a very, very bumpy, long journey to actually creating a brand new register. The real benefit of local land charges is it's the first register built by government that is truly digital and spatial. And this is going to be my only boast of the day as well, is it's the first register or the first data set held by government that meets the FAIR principles from the Open Data Institute, which means it's findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Now, the clever people in the room, when we're talking about FAIR, say actually it has to be Q-FAIR. And that's a really important point, actually, because for it to be fair, it also has to be quality. Okay? And that is I'm going to touch on that. So, if you can, I don't know if you can see the slide at the end of the graph there. It says 2018-19, because that's the year we started to actually migrate local authority registers onto our digital centralised service. July 2018, Warwick went live. Massive fanfare internally, across the market, not even a ripple. Okay? But it was actually 5 years worth of work. We had to change legislation. Okay? We had to build a team. We had to convince local authorities to let go of their data. We had to convince the search market that we weren't trying to undercut them or take their revenue from them as well. We had to build a register. So we built it. We were very proud of it. Sorry, that's a second boast. I do apologise. And then in that first year, we said we would migrate 26 local authorities in the first year. Okay, we did 4. And the reason being, I'm going to go back to quality. Okay, if the register is incomplete, so if we don't take everything, capture it accurately, and I mean all the textual information, a correct extent to represent that local land charge, whether it be a smoke control order or a single tree in the back garden under a TPO. If it's missing and you conduct a material search and the charge exists but is not revealed, Land Registry assume compensation protocols. So we would have to pay compensation. So we work very closely with the local authority to ensure that we have all of their data, and we go back to 1977, okay, and we take it in whatever format. And I've just caught the eye of Kim, who's our partner from Landmark Solutions Group. So Land Registry have 400 staff with HMLR staff and our partners migrating local authorities right now. So you can see it has increased. We've now got 126 at the time of speaking, local authorities migrated, which now means that you can access that information instantly, digitally, and that information can be refreshed and is guaranteed, whether you get it via a business gateway channel, portal, or free through gov.uk. 142 actively migrating at the moment. We will not ever drop our data quality standard, because the moment we do that, okay, we will spend the next 10 years fixing it or arguing about compensation claims. The real benefit of the service as well is once the local authority is migrated, we actually build an integration, an API into the local authority, so the register is updated in live. So as planning applications with conditions are approved today, they hit the register. Okay. If a local authority fails to register a charge on time, we have the MI that can go out to the customer and say, 28 days as a charge created, and when it was registered, and we believe you've done a search on that property, so you might want to actually repeat it. So we're guaranteeing the service, the data, we're investing in local government data, and we're making it available. To date, just over 1.5, 1.6 million searches of the register have been done. Most of them you'll see are personal searches. So gov.uk, standard government platform for services. Anyone can access local land charges information via gov.uk and pay no money for it. So it's a free service. So I'm just going to quickly move on. That's where we're at. So, we are investing in our own data, in this data from local government. We are making it available. The remit originally was to standardise the cost of a local land charges search, standardise the format, the speed of return. Okay, so this is you get this instantly as well. It's £15 for an official search, free for a personal search, and this will also form part of the wider fees strategy for land registry. But we're also now realising that there are other uses of the data. So now we've got 124 local authorities migrated. We're starting to see appetite to actually consume. So I'll talk about lenders in a second, and also material information from trading standards. So the data's there, 124 local authorities. It's fair to say when we had migrated, no one was interested in an API into local land charges because there just wasn't enough data in there. We've got nearly 8 million charges on the register now, so we're starting to see real appetite for the data. So we are working with Nationwide Building Society, who when we showed them the service, they said, we're interested in this, not for the local search later down the line, but for us, there's real benefit in actually consuming this data, ingesting it into their decision in principle process. So most lenders, they do the affordability checks when any applicant hits their website. Nationwide have built a property risk hub that also considers the suitability of the property to secure the mortgage against. What that means is it might be a no earlier in the process. So if there's something on the register, like let's go worst case scenario, compulsory purchase order, they're not going to lend on that property, it will be a no straight away. It's a better customer journey. But the real benefit for Nationwide is it reduces post-valuation questions. They can give more information to the valuer, more information to the solicitor because they've seen it early as well. So again, for them, there's benefits in actually reducing friction in the process and a better customer journey for the consumer as well. And we're about to roll that API out to other sectors in a private beta environment. And one of those leads me nicely on to national trading standards. Are there any estate agents in the room? Good, I won't upset them then. So just a few slides here. 2024 Part C of Material Information Trading Standards was released to a small fanfare as well, and it talked about the information that should be provided for every property at the point of listing. And you'll see at the bottom there, conservation area, listed building, Article 4 and DPOs. Those data, interestingly, 2 weeks ago when I was talking about trading standards and material information, the guidance was withdrawn. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the guidance was created and it wasn't mandating it, it was only guidance, but this was regulated by national trading standards. The withdrawal of this guidance is because responsibility is moving to the Competition and Markets Authority. So whilst we think it's useful for estate agents, an opportunity for estate agents to consume the data or parts of the local land charges register, it's no longer being monitored or governed by trading standards, but there's still an opportunity for agents to get ahead and start actually putting that information on property listings. That potentially helps the number of fall-through of property transactions if a buyer right at the front says, I'm not interested in that property because it's a listed building or it's in a conservation area, etc. So that's that. New data sets. How long have I got? About 10 minutes? I'll leave 7 seconds for... So what are the data sets? So I've talked about local land charges. I've talked about our ambitions to, our main priority, the backlog as well. But as part of keeping 400 people gainfully employed when we finally finish local land charges, when we've got 300 people, the SRO, the Chief Financial Officer, who actually is responsible for the programme, wants to keep the team together. and says, can we go out and look at, what other data sets need digitising? What other parts of government could we help with transformation? So I've got innovation in my job title, and it was a very, very low-key announcement last Monday, and a slightly bigger announcement on the 9th of February, but MHCLG, our sponsoring department, have commissioned Land Registry to deliver a 10-month LA property data pilot. So we talk about being agile, being nimble. This was first proposed in October 2023 in the autumn statement, where the then Tory government announced 3 pilots, £3 million of funding for some property data pilots to help improve the home buying process. This is the result of that. It was slowed down by an election, and it also just general sort of the process as well. But we've now had a commission to run a pilot for 10 months. The pilot was launched last week. So we will work with 4 to 7 local authorities. So as well as having their local land charge register migrated, we are looking to see if there is also benefit in providing better access to building regs and highways information, because consumers tell us that they are the next 2 data sets that can cause delays and additional inquiries in the conveyancing transaction. So it'd be interesting if I did a poll to see how many champions and detractors I've got at the end of this for my new pilot. So it's a small team from Land Registry are going to be the delivery arm. This is MHCLG's policy as well. This is not a backdoor attempt to create a Con29 register. This is not local land charges version 2. The outputs of the pilot will say to government what are the next steps required if you want to digitise this data, because it may well be that most of the data is digital, but it's stuck behind a paywall, or there's access issues as well. So what we will elicit from the pilot is, what's your problem statement? What is the funding envelope required if you want to digitise this data? And then how do you open up access to it, but at the same time keep it on premise in the local authority? So it's not Land Registry creating, holding another register. This is all about us enabling access to data as well. So we will have to consider the financial implications on local authorities who maintain this data. And I think the pilots will be quite different for building regs and also for highways, because for highways, it's more about knowing the extent of the highway. But for building regs, it might just be, can I have certainty that there's a building regs certificate for that piece of work as well? So we're scoping at the moment. We're approaching a number of local authorities. We do want customers involved. So I'm obviously hanging around for the drinks reception because I'm from the Land Registry. If you want information about the pilot or you're interested in participating, drop us a note and we can invite you to that market warming day, which is on the 24th of June. A couple of others before I go to questions. It's not just about data, it's about transformation as well. It's about digitising processes as well. So are there any other parts of government that could benefit from the lessons we've learned on the very difficult journey of our own data? So we are looking at lots and lots of projects. One of the most important being actually Land Registry looking to create a geospatial land register. So we're probably all really comfortable with an A register, a B register, and a C register. I'm happy to share with you that at one point we considered putting local land charges as a D register. Okay, but we couldn't do that because they're 2 separate bits of legislation. But again, the geospatial land register, we're just starting that journey. So we need to get that right, because if we get the land register wrong, we're in a whole world of trouble, aren't we? So again, it's about consultation. It's about bringing in you as the end users, acting for the consumer as well. How would you want a geospatial land register to look as well? And also we're working across the digital planning programme at MHCLG, because it's fair to say that government are all running off and trying to modernise it, that. But it's really important that we're joined up. So the digital planning programme is encouraging local planning authorities to publish some of their planning data. And guess what? There's overlap between local land charges. So we're creating joint guidance that allows a local authority to digitise and hold its local land charges register on our service, and also data sets to meet open data principles as well. So it's a really good example of actually government joining up. I won't spend too long on the DPMSG. It is a collection of organisations from public and private sector, currently chaired by MHCLG and the home buying and selling team. What it's really doing is trying to provide leadership for all the ambitions to modernise the processes, digitise data, more security. So there's all sorts of stuff on qualified electronic signatures, AML, identity as well. But we're supporting on opening up and providing provenance for information as well. I said I'll bring it round, and I'm on my third boast now, so I do apologise. So I'm 2 over. This is just some feedback from the service, from local land charges that we've got. Hopefully it makes compliance easier, simple, easy to use. Why aren't other data sets like this? Hopefully I've covered that as well. Looks great, but doesn't cover all my area yet. It's a fair challenge. Time saving, only one part of the puzzle. Referencing Catherine, it's an iterative approach to improving the home buying selling process. It's making one more data set accessible, okay? It's streamlining one part of the process. It isn't a silver bullet. There's still lots of work to do as well. However, I didn't ruin anyone's morning, but Mr. Callum Moffat did, because he was taking this out. He took our service out to an estate agent and said, you could use this to comply with material information. And the estate agent was like, nah, it's going to make no difference to me whatsoever. I'm absolutely fine. So Callum is very persistent and said, come on, let's just check a couple of properties. So they checked a property that was 2 weeks from completion. So they put the details in, and Callum said, looks like a nice property, it could be listed. Oh, it's definitely not a listed building. Hit confirm, listed building. Through, Callum ruined someone's morning. So I've never ruined anyone's morning. I hope I haven't ruined your afternoon, and I have left 5 minutes for questions. Thank you. Yeah, just like that. No questions, excellent. Any questions? Oh, a few.
I just had a sort of your detractors and supporters question.
Yeah.
I love LLC online. I think it's brilliant.
Thank you.
But one of the big questions I have about the land registry more generally is I've heard an awful lot about buying and selling houses, and how do you make sure that the commercial people aren't left behind? Because quite often what works for somebody buying 53 Acacia Avenue doesn't work in the commercial sector.
I can give you absolute certainty that we don't differentiate between commercial and residential. Our ambitions is to open up data, improve service standards as well for both commercial and residential property transactions. I think the noises are coming from like the steering groups and Home Buying and Selling Council about residential property transactions, but I can assure you Land Registry's focus is on its commercial customers as well as residential customers. But good point, and I'll take that back as well, so never forget the commercial lawyers.
Thanks. Hi, I'm a solicitor, property solicitor. As solicitors, we have to be very discreet. We can't say we're even acting for a client. We can't reveal their identity.
Yeah.
I just wonder, the idea that people who've got option agreements, who've got land banks, the idea that that information that the client has to register to protect their interests that they've paid for, they've done a commercial transaction. That's not the same as a tree preservation order or a conservation order. No. That would be a matter of public record. That's quite sensitive information. I'm not sure clients, when they apply for registration, expect Angela Rayner to have that information to form her housing policy. I just wonder if that raises a question of trust.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I think what we're suggesting here isn't an open data set of every option agreement out in the public domain, but I think it's got to be more accessible to the people that need to know. So probably more for policymakers as well. Any service that we build, any proposal, any project, goes through really lots of rigor with regards to data privacy, impact assessments, etc. So we won't be doing anything that actually would put us in breach of that. We publish data sets already, like overseas companies that own land and corporations that own land as well. We're at the very early stages of contractual controls as well. We don't know how it's going to work, obviously, but we are working with officials to make sure we get it right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, thanks for the question.
Hello, Jamie. It's always, I speak to lots of people at the land registry.
Sorry,
So
where was I? Sorry.
it's nice
Hello,
to meet,
hello,
nice
Catherine.
to meet
Hello,
another one
Catherine.
and another fellow speaker as well. I have a new project for you.
I ain't got much air as it is.
So if you can dispatch the land charges and move on to your next one, that'd be really appreciated. Obviously, there's always been a reference to commercial. In commercial, we don't buy one house.
Yep.
We will buy a multi-million-pound site, which is made up of many, many titles. At the moment, we're working on a £1 billion portfolio
Yep.
that we are currently refinancing for a client. So we need data. We don't want to order, or we have to, but we don't really want to have to order registers. What we want is reliable data.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, the land registry's technology is never going to meet our needs as a commercial provider, and therefore we go to third-party providers.
Yep.
And the land registry is key to feeding in their data to these third-party providers.
Yep.
We're a customer of Avails, so at a click we can analyse 1,000 titles. They can tell us, you know, every piece of information we want. But the problem is the information is not up to date. The data is only made available once a month. So your references to open access data and digitalisation is music to my ears. But whenever I ask, when are you going to implement an API to give us immediate call information, I've spoken to many people. They're all very helpful. Some shrug their shoulders. Some clearly don't want to speak to me. Some mention budgets. And then if they can't think of anything else, they go security. Just to finish off the conversation. So to my mind, for the commercial, the most important thing is the land registry opening up its data so that it's available on call on an API and not 1 month out of date. Is that on the roadmap?
Yes.
When is it going to happen?
I'm going to have to shrug my shoulders at that bit. Local land charges is probably trailblazing in this area because, again...
I figured as much when you were talking about an API.
So we are working with other divisions of Landmark Information Group, which is OneSearch as well. So they are testing the API at the moment, which means actually, instead of actually conducting multiple searches, the customer can submit UPRNs, title numbers or addresses, multiple, send them via an API, and we can return all that data back as GeoJSON. So that's an example of how to do it. To be able to do that for land register, you probably need a geospatial land register because you have to trust in the data. So we have to invest in the data. Our remit is never not to build these services. It will always be the third parties that build it because they've got the capability. Our remit has to be to provide the provenance of the data so we can guarantee it. So it's on the roadmap, you know, geospatial register, better access to data. The Minister's been very clear. We have to start that journey. I can't give you any guarantees on timelines at the moment, Catherine, other than just stay in touch and we'll involve you because we need your help in building those services as well.
Thank you. We need an API with up-to-date data, not something that's a month out of date. We might have exchanged by then otherwise.
And we are testing that API at the moment. This is the first one we've actually, at the moment it's a transactional API. When we complete the register, we will then look at, and the fee strategy might be actually push this data out as a national data set or subsets as well. So you might have all TPOs as a single data set or Article 4 directions, etc.
So I would query why you need to make it geospatial, because if it's got to go geospatial first, you're talking a few years away.
Yeah.
What we want is just a functioning API. And in fact, the way you pass your monthly updates to providers is very insecure. It's a data dump once a month, whereas if it's an API, it would just be made on a call basis, so you wouldn't dump your however many million titles, well, billions, I presume, of titles in one go, which is really vulnerable data. So I'm hoping that actually the geospatial idea will be dropped in favour of a speedy API.
We have an API strategy, an overall API strategy going forward as well.
Thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you. We've got one at the back, and we've got one here as well, haven't we? You had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I was, but then I thought about it. My question was really because my biggest issue is don't actually live at the property because we've got an ageing population where I am. So the biggest question is that person entitled to sell? So could you link that with the local authority and check if they've ever sent a council tax bill, for example, to that property?
I mean, obviously we do a lot of monitoring in the background. We have a huge fraud unit. We've got our amazing property alert service as well, which is free to use. But that's never been put forward before, so I'd happy to have a chat with you.
Yeah, please.
And actually just put a bit of meat in the bones, and we can take that away as an innovation opportunity.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
thank you.
No problem.
Hello.
Hi.
It's really more because I'm a residential property solicitor, so interesting to hear about all the potential data sets and things that we're going to be seeing further down the line.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know, clearly geospatial land register is a known quantity for some people in the room. Just wanting to clarify a bit as to what you mean by that.
Right, yeah. So when I joined in '89, land registry, 7 years old obviously, it was blue card registers, index maps, paper title plans. Our register is electronic. We've created your electronic register, and it's standalone, and there's a title plan associated. A digital geospatial register means that actually your spatial extent, your geospatial entity is your core element of the register. And then what you do, you add the text, the particulars of registration, to that entry, and then it becomes searchable digitally as well. So that's how we mean geospatial. So it's about geospatial referencing. How you create a geospatial land register, it might be slightly different because, again, on every, best example I can give, a local authority might have 40,000 index cards for individual properties on 500 streets. And on every card, they'll say smoke control order affects that property. In local land charge, we just draw one big polygon and then say smoke control order. So if you ever search that, that's your geospatial record as well. So we might have to do that for restrictive covenants, easements, all sorts of entries as well. I'm not solutionizing here, but again, it's making sure that the data is interoperable as well, and you can use it and you can consume it into other systems. And I hope, I'm not a technician, by the way, so I hope that was enough.
One more question, and then we'll...
Yeah,
Hello, thank you for the talk. Just a brief question. Is it possible to apply for expedition of an application after you've made the application? If a situation becomes urgent after you've actually made the application?
100% yes. I mean, most of the requests for expedite become because we've been sat on it for so long, and it becomes urgent. So you have to provide the evidence to say why it's not. You can't just say, I want to expedite because I'm your favourite customer. But if you say, I've got a remortgage which is now pending, which is now, relies on us completing that application. So at any point you can request expedition of your application, yes.
I just wonder, I know we always put the purchase price on the title, but I'm just wondering why that is actually necessary. A lot of people ask me, can I not hide it? They don't want their neighbours or they don't want anybody else's private information. We don't publish, let's say when we put a charge on the title, we don't say how much the bank is owed. I mean, I understand it's needed for data of local authorities, but could it not be blanked out and then on a need-to-know basis, someone can make an application to know what the price paid for that property was?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question as well. I wish we had one more question. No, the decision to actually publish price paid was actually made many years ago as well, because the core principle is the land register is an open register for that purpose as well. Some information, obviously, you have to apply for an official copy as well. The justification at the time was greater transparency, and we've also been at periods where actually we need to stimulate the house buying market, so more clarity on price paid or to slow down the market can help as well. So we'll always have that challenge. Land Registry used to make publishing that was a commercial service as well. So we used to make a small profit. Government said you can't make a profit from this, you've got to publish it for free. So I will take the question back. I haven't got an answer as to why we still publish it, but it really does align with sort of like, the principles are actually as much open data as possible, but at the same time recognising the need for security where necessary.
Can you all put your hands together, please, for Jamie? Thank you very much.